While the playable races are actually quite limited when compared to the massive pool of all the available races in the entire Warcraft universe, Blizzard kind of fixed or patched up this issue a bit when they introduced the allied races, adding the High Mountain Tauren or the Dark Iron Dwarves. However, there are still nearly a dozen races that have actually joined both the Horde and the Alliance, some as far as when the factions were formed, and some quite recently during our various expeditions. So what are these races that are a part of the Alliance and the Horde that are not yet playable and could become playable in the very near future? So today we have something really cool. Noah's Heart, this video sponsor, a full-on open-world MMORPG that you can play on Android, iOS and Windows, all synchronized on one account. Use my link to pre-register as you will get a great head start when the game is out. As with any MMORPG, you can customize your character in great detail. Noah's Heart is also offering a planet-like seamless map for you to explore, travel to biomes like the Alfreza Desert with things like jetpacks and hooks. Be sure to collect the materials and treasure chests along the way because there is also a crafting system which allows you to craft outfits and enchanted armors. I really like the class system that is free from conventional limitations as you can switch between classes and weapons whenever. The combat system is also very unique, as well as you can summon phantoms, possess them, and use their abilities in combat. Furthermore, you can take up to 3 phantoms as mercenaries to join you in battle, and you can take advantage of their abilities as well, making for very interesting gameplay. There is PvP and PvE, so literally a full-on open-world MMORPG on your mobile device. Noah's Heart is available in 5 languages and will be released in late July, so make sure to use my link in the description and pre-register right now as you will get a ton of rewards to kickstart your adventure. Furballs. This is probably the least known on this list, but some Furball are actually a part of the Alliance. The Furball are one of the most iconic humanoid races dating all the way back to Warcraft 3, and they are some of the most ancient races on all of Azeroth. They even participated in the War of the Ancients, who mainly live in the northern part of the planet. Now, traditionally, they have been allies of the Night Elves for a very long time, and they were once a very peaceful race, but that was nearly destroyed by all the events that unfolded recently. Many tribes were corrupted by the Legion and the demons and just went completely mad. Some were corrupted by old gods, and many of them just went crazy with everyone disturbing their peace, and they just became aggressive and just started attacking everyone. However, some tribes remained uncorrupted, and there is one known as the Stillpine tribe, very isolated and native to the Azure Mist Isles. They were plunged into chaos, but ultimately saved with the Alliance adventure, and therefore they joined the faction and allied themselves with the native Draenei, or not native Draenei, the Draenei that just crash landed into their own lands. While this is not a significant part, obviously, of the faction, realistically, the Furball could very easily be turned into a playable allied race. Seriously, they have a really long history within the Warcraft franchise. They were always allied to the Night Elves, and some are even a part of the faction, so if there is ever a new tribe or something of the sort, it would be highly realistic that the Furball could join the ranks of the allied races without any sort of a setup needed to introduce them. Ogres. Ogres are one of the original Horde races, as in the first Orcish Horde and not the current one, and realistically they definitely fit the overall Horde theme, as they are the distant cousins of the Orcs, and literally there is not a single reason that Blizzard can't make them playable at any point in time, and the community has been looking forward to this pretty much since Classic. So there are actually 2 Ogre clans that joined that you may not even know about, and the Ogres have been a part of Thrall's Horde since its founding and the creation of Orgrimmar. If you remember, back in Warcraft 3, Rexxar bested Korgal, the leader of the Stormwall, in a duel and took over the leadership and then just gave it to another Ogre. Some things happened in between, but they have actually been a pretty active part of the faction, despite you never pretty much seeing them anywhere. The Stormwall from Brackenwall joined Garrosh when he attacked Telemore, and they were also helping out the Horde during the Pandaria campaign. Even most recently, there were some updates on their status as close as Battle for Azeroth, as we were told that they are doing really well, even growing their current holdings further, so they're pretty much just flourishing. Now, on the other hand, there is also the lesser-known Dunemaul clan, a large band of nomadic ogres that took over a part of Daenerys. They were brought into the Horde by a goblin, although brought isn't exactly all that willingly, as you can see them caged up and just sent to work for the Horde. However, with the Stone Mall, there is literally a bunch of ogres that are already a part of the Horde, and they have been a part of it for 2 decades, that could be made playable at any point in time. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna say it's their size, they're just gigantic, they can't be added, but ogres, lore-wise, are really not all that different in size than the Tauren, and we have playable Tauren in 2 different variations. Furthermore, as we went to Altered Draenor, we learned that the ogres are not just the 2 brain cells, me smash you types, but are actually incredibly intelligent, giving them a lot of diversity with classes such as the mages and the warlocks. So really, there is nothing stopping ogres from becoming playable at any moment in time. Hozen. The Hozen are one of the most ancient native races to Pandaria that we had recently discovered when we first reached Pandaria back in Mob. While there are numerous tribes and different versions of them, we caught one of them in the middle of a war between the other native Jinyu and a tribe known as the Grukin, or the Forest Hozen, swore their allegiance to the Horde after the Horde helped them out first. Then, the Horde armed them and equipped them and just turned them on the Alliance. Now, the Hozen had actually been a part of the faction for a really long time, since it's pretty much been a decade since all these events unfolded. They played an active role, as there were some Hozen among the ranks of the Horde Vanguard in Zadlar back in BFA, so this wasn't just a temporary alliance in order to cause some chaos on Pandaria, but they legit actually joined the faction. While they are not that crazy of an intelligent race, there are not many reasons why they can't be made playable for the Horde, especially since the Alliance got their own counterpart to completely match it, the Jinyu. The only issue right now is they're not really relevant in any scenario, at least with the Dragon Isles and all this dragon stuff and outside of Pandaria, but the Hozen are officially members of the Horde and are actively supporting it. Tonka. So, the Tonka are hardly ever going to become a fully fledged new playable race, as they're very similar to the Tauren, but an allied race is highly realistic. In fact, I wonder why we still don't have Tonka as an allied race. Keep in mind, we have the high-mounted Tauren, which are barely any different from the regular Tauren, as they are Tauren after all, while the Tonka are actually relatives of the Tauren and are a race of their own. The Tonka are actually Yongle, the ancient race that once wandered the mega continent of Kalendor before the Sundering. Well, at one point they reached the borders of the Mogu Empire, they were caught and flash-shaped into a nearly different race, and ultimately they were split in 3 parts. One part went north, one part went south, and one part went even further north, and those that went all the way to Northern would become the Tonka, and they made some adaptations to the cold environment, and they were just different from the Tauren or the other Yongle. Now, we reunited with them when we fought the Lich King, as they were in a pretty terrible situation with a scourge rampant all over the continent, and they actually joined the Horde and have been a part of the faction ever since. However, we never really saw them in action that much, and we don't really know how active a part they actually are, but since we have the precedent with the high-mounted Tauren, I think they definitely need to become a new allied race. It is only a matter of when. Plus, what are they really going to do alone in Northern anyway? Genu. The Genu are literally Pandaria's night elves. Just how the trolls all those years ago turned into elves with the Well of Eternity, so did the Genu, as originally they were just a random tribe of simple murlocs that settled near the enchanted pools of the Whale of Eternal Blossoms. Over time, they changed into a completely different form and they became a race of their own. Now, the Genu are one of the older races on Pandaria, and they even had something of an empire back in the day, but most recently, we encountered them as they were in a serious conflict with the Forest Hozen. In particular, the Alliance helped a tribe known as the Pearlfin to fend off a Forest Hozen assault, and ultimately they decided to join the faction. So literally there are actual murlocs that are a part of the Alliance. Now, when they joined, the Alliance taught them in military strategy, equipped them and all that stuff, and they have been a part of the faction ever since, although we don't really have much data on them. We don't know how big their numbers are, how much they're really contributing to the Alliance, and we haven't really seen them very often. However, since their counterparts, the Hozen, are a part of the Horde, there is barely any reason to not add them as a future allied race. They could very much easily be adapted into a playable race in terms of their model and their lore. The only issue is that they're really just not all that relevant. Since Mob, we have seen a hostile tribe of the Jinyu and some merchants, but since Pandaria is no longer the focus of pretty much anything and that is their homeland, I don't see why they would be important. It is possible that the Horde and Alliance go for an initiative to turn old allies into really active ones in order to save the world soul in the future, so this could be an excuse for the Jinyu to become a new allied race that we could play as, like searching for the old allies. It honestly wouldn't be unheard of. It is pretty much how we added the Magnatal orcs and the light Draenei. Magnatal. Well, they're not ogres, they are not orcs, but in fact, they are something in between. When you think of the Magnatal, your first thought is no doubt Rexxar, and he is in fact one of the founders of Trolls Horde and one of the most important characters of the entire faction. However, did you know that his clan also joined and aided the Horde back in the Burning Crusade? The Magnatal are a mix between ogres and orcs and are just a clan of hunters and beastmasters and are very different than any other orc or ogre clans. We have thought they went completely extinct during the orcish invasions and all the crazy stuff that happened to Outland, but when we ventured to the Dark Portal, they were discovered by Rexxar and they agreed to join the Horde. Now, realistically, this would be a super cool race, as we all know Rexxar, it would perfectly fit as a new allied race. The only issue is they're super few in numbers. We don't have the actual data, but let's say you could probably count them in few dozens, which would definitely be a problem for an entire playable race. But we did get the Mega through Ultra Draenor, so maybe an alternate reality could be a possibility for this to happen. Forest Trolls. Forest Trolls are actually one of the most original Horde races, as the Trolls were a significant part during the original Orcish invasion, and there were Troll units in the RTS games. Then Trolls, the Darkspear ones, joined and became one of the founding members, and now, most recently in Battle for Azeroth, the fathers of all the Troll tribes, the Zandalari, became one of the allied races. However, did you know that the actual Forest Trolls that were a part of the Amani Empire are also an actual part of the Horde and have been for many years? Well, the Reventas tribe agreed to a pact of friendship and mutual assistance as soon as they learned of Troll's new Horde and his ambitions, and they have generally been in conflict with all the other Troll tribes in the hinterlands. Furthermore, they were actually present in Cataclysm, and most recently in Battle for Azeroth we have seen them helping us, as they said that they will always aid the Horde, which means that they're actually an active part of the faction. So we literally had these Amani Forest Trolls as a part of the Horde, and they even have dire Trolls in their ranks, yet they are nowhere close to being playable. Seeing that we have the Darkspear and the Zandalari as an allied race, there is literally no reason why the Forest Trolls can't be added as a new allied race in the future. In my opinion, they have the coolest looks out of all the different troll variations. Thank you for watching. Check out what Dragonflight be rushed by clicking on the screen, and check out Doronsmovies Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.